So we heard this morning, or should we say yesterday morning, because this will be coming out on Tuesday afternoon. We heard that, of course, Suella Braverman dropping out of the Conservative leadership race, because according to reports, no one could really agree on why we lost, the Conservative, last general election. So because of that, I am refusing to lead until we agree on what the reason was we lost. Meanwhile, 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 on the pages of the Daily Express, Suella Braverman wrote, I think, the most um I don't know what to call it, or the most saltiest article I have ever seen. And bear in mind, we have plumbed some serious salt mines over the years, from the horrific and horrible loss of the 2023 local elections to the 2024 you know gold salt mines of the still now period, which we still have not yet drained dry. But here's Suella Braverman, who almost by herself has opened up a brand new salty vein that, quite frankly, folks, you have to be careful, because this really is the purest salt of salt I have ever seen. So be careful as you enter this. Stay hydrated, because you're gonna need it. Oh my. So let's crack on into this then, shall we? So before we do get on into this, please do remember to click on the share button, the links down below to the Patreon page, the Buy Me a Coffee link, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below as well. So do go check those out as well. So, as always, let's crack on into this, because my word, the title says it all. The title says it all. Suella Braverman. I've been branded mad, bad, and dangerous by my own party, so I will not lead it. Get ready, folks. Get your pickaxes, get your, I don't know, your pans of, because oh boy, we are about to do some serious mining here. But let's see what Suella Braverman has to say. Oh boy, does it get very, very salty indeed. Remember, the only reason she dropped out was because she could not find support. She could not find those 10 MPs that would support her in her quest to become party leader. But as we've said, as we've been covering, she blew her chance. She went to that NatCon convention in Washington, gave an absolutely crazy speech, and people somehow were almost shaken out of a stupor and went, "Oh my word, that's Suella Braverman. What's been going on?" If you think she was mad, bad, and dangerous now, what do you think she's been doing for years? But anyway, let's get on into this then, shall we? Anyway, politics is bruising and thankless, she begins with, but the honor of being sent to the green benches by thousands of your fellow citizens is a gift unique to democracies, of which there are now fewer around the world. I don't think there are fewer democracies around the world. Again, I'm sure someone will mention this in the comments, but I think there are more democracies around the world than I think any other form of government. So But again, just shows where she is, I think, in this. Anyway, whilst our democracy is in is in rude health, the bantering of what we conservatives uh, received is painful. Oh, sorry, the battering, sorry, of what we Conservatives received is painful. Hundreds of excellent Conservative MPs lost their seat, and I think often about the friends who find themselves now abruptly unemployed. I'm sure Suella Braverman goes to bed at night and cries tears about her lost friend and colleague, Penny Mordaunt. I'm sure she cries about that. Anyway, um, there has now been much discussion about how we suffered our worst defeat in recent history, but still no consensus. And I will give Suella Braverman this. She is right. There is no consensus on it. Everyone's got their own weird and wacky theories, as we have seen for the past couple of weeks, and we've been covering them. But she continues. She says that the disaster was down to our failure to keep promises. We did not cut immigration despite saying we would. Again, who was in charge of that at one point? Suella, you know, if you're gonna, cast blame, what is the saying? She who is the most to blame does not cast the first stone on that argument. um, but she continues, we raised taxes to now a 70-year high while pledging the opposite. We then also overreacted to COVID, which disabled our public services. Love it. Overreacted to COVID. Oh, I do hope she elaborates on that later, but we'll see. She continues, we failed to tackle the long tail of Blairism contained in the Human Rights Act, the Equality Act, and the European Convention of Human Rights, despite complaining about them. And yet, you did nothing because you knew what the consequences would be if you were to undo that. And yet, you continue to accept that somehow getting rid of them, these would be completely consequence-free decisions. They're not. They are not. But, you can talk about them as if, if you get rid of them, there will be no consequences. Totally nothing would go wrong in the Good Friday Agreement, right, guys? One of the most successful peace agreements of all time, right, guys? Anyway, she continues, and it was on our watch that the transgender ideology and critical race theory seeped into our institutions, notwithstanding our rhetoric. I again, Suella Braverman, culture warrior, or to the extreme. Yeah, once again, as we've said before, culture wars rots people's brains because there is no actual sane or sensible, well, there is, but from these people, there is no sane or sensible policy agreement that they could put forward, which does not make them look like some sort of literally Hitler type, person. But there you go. Like I say, and this is why she's probably gone so insane over the couple of years, because she has bought in to the worst thing ever is transgender ideology and critical race theory seeping into institutions. I, I don't even know how to begin to sort of I don't even know where to begin on that itself, but anyway, she continues, unfortunately. It is not comfortable accepting these truths. Uh, uh, has Suella Braverman actually ever considered that maybe concentrating on all those things while ignoring all the other problems that were going on for like the past 14 years might have been part of the problem itself? Just a thought there. Just a thought there, Suella. Anyway, I've tried to set them out and been vilified by some colleagues, but it is what it is, and anyone who leads their party needs to accept them, or else prepare for a decade in the wilderness. Oh, I think someone else is definitely preparing for a decade in the wilderness. Because I'll tell you what, Suella Braverman's gonna be there for some time. And trust me, if anyone is sensible, and bear in mind, Rishi Sunak had ample opportunities to get rid of Suella Braverman countless times, but he did not take the opportunity to. Someone else, I'm sure, will have the wonderful opportunity to get rid of Suella Braverman. And oh boy, please, I don't care whoever wins the next Conservative leadership election, please, 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 first thing on the agenda, get Suella into your office and just sack her. Just sack her, please. But for all that is good, but I doubt that will happen. Anyway, on the night of the general election, I did the one thing I thought any of us could do on that dreadful night when we lost half of our vote and 2/3 of our MPs. I said sorry. Except it was a very mealy apology, while, of course, blaming everyone else except yourself. Congratulations there, Suella. Once again, an ideologue who is so ideologically fixated that when anything goes wrong, it's not her ideology or her policies that she is espousing, or her own rhetoric that people have the problem. No, it clearly must be something else. So, double down on the ideology. Again, big problem in the Conservative Party. Suella is not alone in that condition, shall I say. So where were we? So she said, "I sorry, and I mean it then, and I mean it now. I accept the share of the blame." Wow. That's it. That's kind of okay. If you do accept the share of the blame, Suella, shockingly, good on you for accepting part of that blame. I appreciate that we got things monumentally wrong, and the result was not some freak, loveless landslide for Labour. It was predictable, preventable, and deserved, and as yet unaddressed. Again, I will give Suella Braverman this. It is completely unaddressed. But even Suella here, addressing the problem. She hasn't got what the main problems are. The fact that everything she's espoused here is part of the problem that has scared away a lot of the centrists who then went to, the Lib Dems or even Labour, or some of them just went, well, I can't even bring myself to go out and vote for the Conservative Party. You're not addressing those problems, are you, Suella? Because no, once again, ideologue doubles down on her ideology. So, the existential threat. So, what is it facing the Conservative Party according to Suella? So, this is why the other inconvenient truth we must now confront. Sorry, I'm just getting bizarre vibes about the inconvenient truth by Al Gore. It's not the same type of inconvenient truth. I think it's more a chosen truth that she chooses to accept as the cause more than anything else. But there you go. Anyway, back to this. This is why the other inconvenient truth we must confront is the existential threat posed by reform. Nigel Farage destroyed us. I think it was more the Lib Dems that destroyed you, Suella, but there you go. We have no hope of recovery until we win back the trust of the 4 million. Branding them as racists and comparing their events to Nuremberg rallies did not work during the campaign, and it will not work now. Do you really want those 4 million people back, Suella? Is it really going to heal your party? Because doubling down and going to reform gets rid, just as we covered with David Gork yesterday, it's the single biggest voting bloc out there. Centrists. And you're saying, no, we need to go and double down on the even crazier right wing stuff. You know, by all means, do that because that will cement your losses even more in the coming years. By all means, and I did mean it. David Gork has his work cut out if he wants to try and reverse the craziness in the Conservative Party. But hey, it well, very very much is on the out in the party, and probably at some point will defect to reform. I think that is also another fool's bet. I can guarantee you in that. Anyway, back to this. People talk about infighting, but what they mean is those of us who saw the threat years ago and warned about it. But they are wrong. The reality is that we were a united party under Rishi Sunak. Yeah. Oh yes, the Conservative Party was absolutely united under Rishi Sunak, and there was absolutely zero infighting during the Rishi Sunak years. I cannot believe Suella Braverman wrote that sentence with a straight face. I cannot believe she seriously wrote that with a straight face. Um, there you go. The reality is that we were united party under Rishi Sunak. That we MPs then united to install him as PM with a coronation. Because otherwise, your other choice was Boris Johnson. And I think even Suella Braverman realized, probably in a moment of very rare lucidity for her, that re-electing Boris Johnson or going to a contest with Boris Johnson where he would win would be a disaster. So, hey, you know, maybe if only she had more moments like that, maybe she might be in the running to be Conservative leader. She might have actually been able to drum up the support. But back to this. Rishi never lost a vote because of Tory rebellion, save for the infected blood. Rishi Sunak never lost a Tory vote because of rebellion. He absolutely had rebellions. So once again, you're wrong because there was no infighting. We were all united. Not only that, the whole Rwanda plan, where you all forced Rishi Sunak into taking a very hard line stance on that, on a, you know, for party. Delusional. I think delusional comes to mind on this. Anyway, precisely everything on Rishi's agenda was now nodded through. Smoking bans, predictables, predicals, predicabs. I don't know. Tax rises, the Windsor framework, even the misguided early general election. Oh, I'm sure Suella Braverman completely agreed with the early general election. In fact, if only our Rwanda rebellion had succeeded, yeah, it still would not be. It still would not be. It still would not be working. It was a plan doomed to fail. We would have got the flights off, but not enough colleagues joined us, instead putting unity above a fatally flawed law that failed to stop the boats, as we had predicted. Compare that to the paralysis that crippled Theresa May's government. Now that was division. Now that was division. No, you had a completely different type of division where Rishi Sunak daren't do anything because of just the entire fractional nature of the infighting of his party that went on. But anyway, back to the delusion in progress. One moral of the story is that so many of my colleagues were lost at the altar of unity, not because of the occasional comment from the backbenchers. So where next? Although I'm grateful to the 10 MPs who wanted to nominate me for the leadership, Would Suella Braverman like to actually name those 10 MPs who nominated her for leadership? Because as far as we are aware, no one was backing her. No one was backing her. She was not going to get on the leadership, so she abandoned ship before it became a bit embarrassing for her. Anyway, although I'm grateful to those 10 totally real MPs who wanted to nominate me for the leadership, getting me onto the ballot was not enough. There is, for good or for ill, no point in making someone like me running to lead the Tory party when most of the MPs disagree with my diagnosis and prescription. And yeah, and her diagnosis and prescription would be to double down incredibly hard on the far right direction of the party. That would not work. And at least there is a recognition in the party that going her direction might not be the best, course of action for the party. But back to it. The traumatized party does not want to hear these things said out loud. Instead, it has platitudes about unity are far more fashionable. That's all fine, but if it's not honest, when I said multiculturalism isn't working, I mean it. And 2 years ago, I argued that we needed to leave the ESRC to stop the boats, as opposed to the cryptic talk about readiness or reform. Reader, beware of those comments reinverting themselves as an ERC skeptics. It is because it was true. Then, when I've said the police need to be tougher on pro-Palestinian thugs, that was the right thing to do. And yet there are problems with that. And I love how she's going, oh, you don't understand. They're all talking about readiness or reform, and they're going to rebrand themselves as ECHR skeptics. No, skepticism doesn't even work, because all you have to do to blow these people up is go, okay, if we leave the European Court of Human Rights, how do we then solve the problems that creates with the Good Friday Agreement? Job done. They will not address it. And they know they can't address it because they know they'll fail at it again. But anyway, Suella Braverman, just quote, doing the right thing. Yeah, completely delusional of that. But anyway, now we are in a crisis, and that's why I'm being honest about our problems, so that we can fix them and go on to win. Again, Suella Braverman might believe she's being an honest actor in all this, but she is absolutely not being honest at all with her own self or even her own positions. She is so ideologically fixed, so ideologically driven. She can't even see that her own policies that she wanted to do was what scared away a lot of people voting for her own party. So she can't be honest with herself. And that says a lot about her. But I can only apologize to the people who backed me to stand. I'm sure it was a very crowded room. I'm sure it was standing room only. And to the thousands of party members and the many disenchanted ex-Conservative voters who have written to me, I am sorry I cannot run because I cannot say what people want to hear. What's stopping you from doing that? What's stopping you from being the voice of reason in the Conservative Party? And by the way, I sincerely mean that. Go crazy, Suella. Just start speaking out there. Please do, because you are going to open up a massive can of worms. And I want to see how the Conservatives deal with you speaking truths upon the backbenchers. So she continues, I do not complain about this. It is democracy in action and worked for Keir Starmer. I have been branded mad, bad, and dangerous enough to see that the Tory party does not want to hear the truths I have set out. Anyway, totally not salty in any direction. Totally not salty about not getting that support, is she, readers? Anyway, she says she wishes all the candidates best, and the survival of the party now depends on the outcomes of this contest, not just about unity, Yeah, I'm sure that's going to last. Pretending that we are united on the surface when we are unreconciled on the policy now won't work. We must provide bold, authentic, compelling vision to hope the law-abiding, common sense, aspirational patriots. A bit of a wrong audience, because no one in the UK would, I think, ever describe themselves as an aspirational patriot. That's very American there from you, Suella. Very, very, very American there of you. However, I also do think this is Suella Braverman pitching herself as a leader in waiting. Because, as we've said before, it's only going to take 19 votes. And what if during this time, Suella manages to get people onto her side and says, we have to double down on this mad, crazy route that she's got planned? They'll launch a leadership bid against her. They'll cause trouble. So will she and the rest of her faction, I'm sure. And eventually, next time there's a leadership contest, because, oh boy, you can bet there will be at least 2 or 3 different leadership contests before the next general election. And Suella Braverman might not be standing in this one, but she might stand in the next one, or maybe even the one after that. So let the chaos reign, Suella. Just bring and just start opening your mouth and just unleash the chaos that will come forth in the Conservative Party. Just unleash the madness, and I will just sit back, as we all will, and just watch the entertainment unfold. Anyway, we are at our best when we offer them a full-throated defense of our country, the meritocracy and fairness, when we do not allow people to be worn down by the smears of racism simply for waving our flag and wanting less migration. Less migration from who and where and what exactly? Yeah, it all kind of does get a bit racist when you start to sort of ask these people these things. Uh, that's for sure. When we fight for their freedom to spend their hard-earned money before the government sucks it up, that's very libertarian there. That's a very libertarian stance, that. Where we stand for the strength and sovereignty of the family unit and the conciliatory home and its conciliatory of home ownership, as well as the bedrock of society. Yeah, you totally built all those homes, didn't you? As we are finding out from Angela Rayner just recently. When we eschew the luxury beliefs of brigade and instead work for the well-being and the most deprived towns and communities, well, you didn't for the past 14 years. When we fight for our national sovereignty, culture and identity as if our civilization depends upon it. Oh, maximum culture war there. Maximum culture war on that. Ring the culture war bell on that, Suella. Again, doesn't work. Has not translated into UK politics. That kind of language that she's just used there. Very American in that regard, but it hasn't translated over here at all. When we restore pride in our nation, so that we get those brave souls who keep us safe at home and abroad, are not demonized or prosecuted for every judgment made in the heat of conflict. What? I don't even know what she was referring. Well, it's been some time since we have seen anything like that. Quite some time. There you go. Anyway, let's finish this delusion off. Whoever takes charge, I know, will have the best of intentions, and I will support them from the backbenches for a conservative revival, a privilege for which I am now deeply grateful. I'm sure you are, Suella. I'm sure you are deeply grateful to all those people who are not supporting you at this moment in time. Yeah, so that was Suella Braverman, totally not salty at all about not having the support to run in the Conservative leadership, and instead deciding that her pitch is the Conservative Party is just not ready to hear these hard truths. You've been talking about these hard truths for years, as she herself has just said. Guess what? Not many people want to get on that crazy train. Not many people want to get on that crazy train, Suella. It seems to be party of one for you. And ultimately, I think she will go and join Reform. If not, she will stay very, very much in the political wilderness on the backbenches. And every so often, she'll say something controversial to try and get some sort of attention. Meanwhile, she'll become a troublemaker on the backbenches. And if any Conservative Party leader has an ounce of sense in them, that the first opportunity she acts up, you should get rid of her. So I doubt they will. I very much doubt they will, but we'll see what happens in the near future. But make no mistake, I have a feeling Suella Braverman will have a lot to say about these pictures and how wrong they are on this. So anyway, that was Suella Braverman's totally not salty excuse for not having the backing to become the leader of the Conservative Party. Totally not salty at all, guys, right? But anyway, let me know how why you think she's so salty down below, because clearly it must be something else, right? It must be something else. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.